Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Friday, the 8th of December, 2023. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed up 0.3% today to 7,195 points. In fact, that was the high for the week and another 10-week high. It was a good day for the energy and materials stocks, not so good for the tech companies. WiseTech Global fell 2.5%, the worst of the large caps on the day. Sonic Healthcare was the best of the large caps. It was up 2.7%. The big banks and retailers were mixed, while Telstra closed down. A jump in the price of iron ore helped the big miners, with Fortescue and Rio Tinto both up around 1%. In fact, Rio closed at its highest level in more than 2 years this afternoon. The reason for the rise in the price of iron ore was news that China's stockpiles are at their lowest since 2016. ANZ's share price was flat, notwithstanding the federal court ordering the bank to pay $900,000 for breaching its continuous disclosure obligation during a $2.5 billion institutional share placement back in 2015. And Ramsay Healthcare's share price rose slightly after the Australian Foreign Investment Review Board approved the sale of its 50-50 Asian joint venture to Columbia Asia Healthcare. Story number 2, Treasurer Jim Chalmers has axed a controversial proposal requiring the Reserve Bank of Australia to give equal consideration to full employment and inflation. Today, he released a new statement on the conduct of monetary policy. Instead of that equal consideration, there'll be a far less specific dual mandate that leaves the central bank with significant discretion. Maybe that means it can concentrate more on interest rates. The policy says the appropriate time frame for achieving an inflation rate of 2.5% depends on economic circumstances and should, where necessary, balance the price stability and full employment objectives of monetary policy. Despite resistance from the central bank, it's also agreed to publish unattributed board votes on interest rate decisions after each meeting, i.e. we know what the board members think, and require board members to give one speech or public engagement each year. Today's statement gives effect to a number of non-legislative recommendations contained in the independent review into the Reserve Bank that was released back in April. Story number 3, there are plenty of stories in the media about a potential Woodside Energy Santos tie-up, which would create an $80 billion company. That would make it the 5th largest on the ASX. According to The Australian, Woodside explored the prospect of a merger with Santos after the South Australian-based company, that's Santos, moved to quietly implement a strategic review amid rising shareholder frustration over its share price. Talks with Woodside are understood to be at a very, very early stage, but a transaction could be attractive as Santos's chief executive, Kevin Gallagher, approaches the end of his contract. Sources close to Santos said the company will not accept any deal that does not unlock shareholder value. Shares in Santos were up 6% today, while Woodside was flat. Story number 4, the Pharmacy Guild says the proposed reverse takeover of Sigma Healthcare by Chemist Warehouse poses significant questions and risks to patient care, community pharmacy ownership and competition in the sector. Now, details of the deal for Chemist Warehouse to undertake a backdoor listing via Sigma Healthcare are expected on Monday. A couple of days ago, Sigma halted trading of shares ahead of disclosing details of the creation of an $8 billion pharmacy giant with that reverse listing of Chemist Warehouse, which is controlled by billionaire Grants and Rocky families. About $350 million of fresh equity will be raised via Goldman Sachs, that's by Sigma, to help fund the deal. While the founding families and their franchisees, many of whom are also in the family, will be issued Sigma shares, not everyone is happy about the implications of the transaction, including the Pharmacy Guild. The Guild said the tie-up could jeopardise community service obligation wholesaling, which makes it commercially viable for drug wholesalers to supply PBS medicines to about 5,800 chemists across the country. And finally, story number 5, the former wife of union heavyweight John Setka has been found guilty of threatening to kill the CFMEU boss and ordered to pay a non-conviction fine of just $1,500. In a hearing at the Melbourne Magistrates Court today, Magistrate Leon Fluxman said Emma Walters had uttered the threats to private investigator Adrian Peters, knowing that he would probably fear that she would carry out the act, according to a report in the Financial Review. The charge of making threats to kill had therefore been proven. That's what the magistrate found. But Mr. Fluxman spared Ms. Walters of a conviction after concluding that the seriousness of the offence was somewhere between low and mid-range and that Ms. Walters was plainly a victim of family violence and had consequently been at the end of her tether. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 8th of December, 2023. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Weekend Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.